Okay, welcome to our set review for Neo Kamigawa. For those of you that haven't watched one of my set reviews before, my goal for this set review is to just take a peekaboo at the rares and the mythics because those are what are most likely to be constructed playable. We'll skim a select number of the commons and uncommons that feel like they're worth mentioning, but in large part, if you're not familiar with Magic design, the commons and uncommons in a given set are largely dedicated to draft leavings, essentially. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. I would just like to start by saying I love the Planeswalker designs in this set. Honestly, as someone who skimmed the set loosely, I love the designs in this set in general. And I think it's actually going to be really difficult to give reasonable evaluations of a lot of these cards because it feels like they've kind of stretched and changed the design space in a lot of new and interesting ways. Like, for example, here, the Wandering Emperor. Flash Planeswalker that can activate her loyalty ability the turn it enters play if you cast it that turn. So this card's really sweet. Normally, you have to evaluate Planeswalkers based on how well they protect themselves the turn you play them. So that way you're likely to untap with them and generate additional value. In this instance, that's not true because it gets to flash in. So, you know, and this is a card that can have a very big impact inside of combat, right? Like you play this on 4, you could give one of your potential blockers a 1/1 counter and first strike, giving you a profitable block as a surprise. I'm a sucker for a constructed playable combat trick. This is definitely a constructed playable combat trick. You could get rid of an attacker and gain some life. You could make a samurai token. Like there's so many permutations in the way in which this card can impact combat. And hopefully, fingers crossed, our format will be in a place where combat matters. If the format can get to a place where we care about combat, this card is a sweet cares about combat card that feels powerful. Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. First activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less to activate. Chat, what are artifacts in Standard that's good with? The new Maze Mind Tome that we're going to get to later in here is definitely a playable one. So 4 mana, 4 loyalty. Draw 2 cards, discard 2 unless you discard an artifact. Target artifact becomes an artifact creature. If it isn't a vehicle, it has base power and toughness 4/4. Okay, so this can just like permanently crew. This can permanently crew something, basically. It also makes non-creatures creatures. This card is probably historic playable, right? There's the blue-white affinity deck in historic that's been put up some fringe results. This is probably playable in that. It cracks clues for free is a good observation. It draws cards with the new vehicle getaway card thing. Someone said Cletus in chat. It could definitely activate that to make the day-night cycle happen cheaper. I think there's a good chance that this card could be playable. It is worth noting that the +1 is not card advantage, it's just card selection unless you have artifacts. But if you have artifacts, it's actually a really powerful card advantage, right? Like draw 2, discard 1, and a +1 is super strong. This is a sweet design. Moon Sage Scion, Rat Ninja. When deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of each player's library. Until end of turn, you may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal. Whoa! This card is hot. Okay, and notably, this says play, not cast. So you can hit your land drops with this card. And you could just like cast busted spells off of either player's deck for life. This is a sweet aggro card. 4 mana for the Ninjutsu is a little bit, but if you're ninjutsuing, you're probably guaranteeing to get value with it. I guess one of the questions for ninjutsu cards in this set, we have to ask ourselves, are there good 1, 2, or 3 mana creatures in this format with good enter the battlefield effects? Ideally in black or just other single color. In Alchemy, the 1/1 green wolf could be okay. Eye Twitch is a dies trigger. Ooh, that's a good shout. This card is playable in Collected Company decks in Historic. Is a good shout because it's CMC 3, so you can end step Coco into it and then untap and hit with it. Could maybe be okay with rogues in Historic. Elite Spellbinder is a neat shout. I like Elite Spellbinder, and Elite Spellbinder curves really elegantly into this, right? And it's evasive, so you like Spellbinder on 3 and then Ninjutsu this and on 4. Yeah, that's good. This could be a card that we could see some Historic play from, potentially. As additional cost to cast this spell, you may tap any number of untapped creatures you control. This costs 1 less for each you tap, deals 10 damage to any target. All right, I mean, this is a Timmy card. This probably isn't very good, but it's probably something I will get paid money to lose matches with at some point. 3/3 for 3. Modified creatures you control have trample. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped. This probably isn't playable. There's so many good 3-drops in green, and like you have to have something that's modified and it's legendary, so drawing multiple of them is going to have a drawback, so this one is probably not great. Legendary Mythic Dragons. Flying Vigilance. When it dies, choose one. The top 7 cards of your library, put a number of non-land permanents with mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in order. Look at the top 7 cards. Put any number of non-land permanents with total mana value 4 or less. Put 2 1/1 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature or a vehicle. Okay. So this is a top-end evasive threat that replaces itself if you want to replace it when it dies, or it can make your board bigger. Yeah, this could be okay. This is a card that gives you, you know, some insurance against a Meat Hook Massacre, potentially. This could potentially be playable. Flying, Ward 3. When it dies, choose one. Return any number of target non-land permanents with total mana value 6 or less to their owner's hands. Mill 6 cards, and then return up to 2 instants or sorceries from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so this has Ward, so it's probably tempo even with a spot removal spell. They have to pay 5 to Doomblade this. And then it potentially draws 2 cards. What are the control finishers this is competing with? So, Hullbreaker got nerfed. It does not pick Meat Hook back up its instants and sorceries. Yeah, Desert Doom is probably the most comparable. I think this card is probably worse than Desert Doom, although I guess Desert Doom loses ward when it attacks, right? Oh, you can bounce your Meat Hook with, that's cute. Okay, so you can return your Meat Hook from play. That's funny. Yeah, probably a sweet Brawl commander. Flying Menace. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Put target non-dragon creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose 2 life. Yeah, this looks great, right? Like the control deck kills this, and then you mind drop them, or you get another creature back. Yeah, I like this one a lot. This is a reasonably aggressive finisher that also just grinds a little bit. Yeah, chat. This is what I'm about to say is almost assuredly copium, but maybe these dragons are good for mid range, and we can play mid range decks. Maybe these dragons can make a mid range deck playable. Maybe. 4/4 for 4, flying, trample. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Yeah, this card seems great. I like a Flampler. I like drawing cards when my things die. 3 treasure tokens is a metric ton of treasure tokens. Oh, yeah, that's true, actually. Okay, my copium is past, chat. All of these dragons are dies triggers. You're still never beating the black-white Rite of Oblivion deck in a million years. They have 4 Rites of Oblivion. They have 2 to 4 Vanishing Verses. You're never triggering any of these dragons ever. And this is, I just don't understand these things. Yeah, Brittle Blast. I just don't understand these things from a design perspective, right? Why do you print these cards that read like they're gonna give you counterplay against interaction, but the actual metagame interaction getting played just doesn't care about any of it ever? Why couldn't these dragons be exiled or die? Right? That's so sad. It's so sad. So close and yet so far away. I don't know if you want them to say leaves the battlefield because of blinking shenanigans, but they could say, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you template it. I do know that all of these, I honestly think I was kind of hyped for these, but I actually think they're all just DOA now. I don't think any of these cards are going to be alchemy playable, actually. That's so sad. Between Brittle Blast and all of the black-white exile removal, all of the decks you would want these grindy effects against, they're just not good because their best removal spells just make them not have an impact. You're just going to play your 5-mana bomb, they're going to play a 2-mana removal spell, and you'll get no value and you'll lose the game because you got tempoed. Oh, yeah! Oh, did you want to get value out of your 5-mana card? Here's another card that just comes in and fucks them up. Speaking of exiling, chat, did you want a copium mid-range? There's no mid-range copium here. We're done. Your mid-range decks are still unplayable. Good chat. Oh, God. Jin-Gitaxias. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose 2 targets. It happens once per turn. If an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. Okay. Huh. Well, that's heckin' rude. So how do you... Well, I mean, I guess creature decks can still attack around it, right? Yeah, this is a sweet reanimate target. It's kind of guess. Yeah, polymorph into this or something. That's a pretty sweet, powerful, it's a good control mirror card. Okay, so reconfigure. Attach to target creature or unattach from a creature, reconfigure as a sorcery. Equipped creature has base power and toughness 5/5, has menace, and is a black demon. This card seems really good. Like it's a 3/1 menace for 2 at the baseline, and then it can also randomly make something very large. Yeah, it's not legendary. This card is playable with Luris is a good shout. Yeah, I expect some experimentation with this card in Historic being playable with Luris. That seems potential. Notable too, this card is an artifact creature, so it is 2 card types for Delirium. So the red-black Luris deck with Darcy and Unholy Heat probably want to play this card. Yeah, I think this has a lot of potential for like red-black Luris shells. That sounds great. Yeah, you slide this onto Darcy. Yeah, you slide this on the Darcy. Wait, Darcy's a 7/7 flyer with this, right? It's a 7/7 flying menace. Bring me pictures of Darcy, chat. It's a menace. Yeah, this card's gas. I like it. 3/3 haste for 4 when it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control. This probably isn't good enough, right? Maybe there's some other red aggro support coming up. I'm having trouble envisioning an existing deck that this goes into. Feel like this probably just gets outclassed by other 4s. All right, so makes a 1/1 that taps for a mana. So this notably ramps you to 5 on turn 4. Puts a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. And then it flips over into a creature. As long as you have 5 or more modified creatures, it is a 7/7. Whenever creature you control enters a battlefield, you can pay X to put X 1/1 counters on it. I guess the question for this is, how many incidental modifications are you going to have? That's the real question, right? How strong this can be is gonna be like, how many other modified things do you have? And I don't know if the answer is a lot. Yeah, I think 5 is a lot. Because, like, one of the other things, too, is not only do you need to be able to have modified things, but you need to have 5 things, right? Yeah, I think by the time you have 5 things in play, you're probably winning. So I think win more is probably accurate here. 3/2 for 3 with flying. Equipped creature has flying, and you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. Weird. My gut says not good. My gut says not good. Yeah, it's cute. I think cute's a good summary. The 3/2 flyer for 3 is like only an okay stat line, and 5 to reconfigure is a lot of mana. As additional cost to cast the spell, you may exile any number of blue cards from your hand. This costs 2 less to cast for each one you exile this way. Up to X target creatures phase out. So this is not a good control card. It's an all-right tempo card. Like, you can use this to phase out opposing blockers, and you could also use it to phase out your things in response to your removal spell, in response to removal spells or board wipes. Yeah, if there's a blue tempo deck in the format, this is probably worth testing, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it ends up not being good enough. Exile black cards to reduce cost, deals X damage to a creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life. In a world where small edges aggro is playable, this card seems reasonable. I don't know that we exist in a world where small edges aggro is playable. Yeah, this is a format context dependent, and I don't know that I expect the format to be in a spot where this is something that's good. All right. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Get a 2/2 shaman. Whenever this attacks, create a treasure token. Discard up to 2 cards. You may draw that many cards. Create a copy that's a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. It has haste. This might be okay. Like, this is technically like I just ignore this for a second, right? Like, let's pretend this is a textless 2/2. You get 2 2/2s for 3 over some time, and you get some card selection, and this potentially makes treasure tokens. This could be potentially okay if there's some other cards you don't mind incidentally copying. Yeah, it's like a slow fair history. Yeah, this does have summoning sickness, because it's not just transforming, it's exiling and returning. Invoke the Ancients. Create 2 4/5s. Can you imagine going back in time and showing this card to someone in 1995? Make 8 power for 5 mana. Like, yeah. I mean, the mono green snow deck probably wants to play this, right? Yeah, they trample or vigilance too. I feel like this so Fading Hope doesn't really see play. It does make 2 modified creatures as well if you care about that. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Imagine showing this card to someone in 1995 and then being like, I'm not sure if this is playable. It might be, but it also wouldn't be surprised if it's not. Search your library for a plains, put it in your hand. You may discard a card. When you do, return target permanent mana value 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. When it attacks or blocks, make a 1/1 colorless spirit token. The stat line on the creature you get turn 5 is like pretty good here. It hits you a land, and then lets you turn that land into a permanent. Oh, wait. It does just ramp you. Okay, so you could just discard the planes that you get and then put it into play on 4. Okay, yeah, this one's probably super playable. Yeah, I like to look at this one a lot. That seems sweet. The stat line and on the creature is good too. It's good. This could be very reasonable. Gain control of target artifact or creature, untap it. Quad blues a lot. If there's a deck that could easily cast this, I could see it being like maybe a sideboard card in the creature matchups. The fact that it untaps the creature is actually kind of a big deal because it means they just attacked you with something, you could take it and then block with it. It's probably just too hard to cast for its power level. You control an artifact and enchantment. You could choose both. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Return a creature or planeswalker from your graveyard to your hands. This probably isn't good enough. Sorcery. Hero's Downfall doesn't really see play. And this being sorcery speed is a pretty big drawback with how many creature lands are in the format. You may cast 2 instants or sorcery total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard or hand without paying their mana costs. If the spells will be put into your graveyard, exile them instead. Exile, invoke Calamity. It's interesting that this is an instance. This lets you cast sorceries at instant speed too. So like this could just like let you cast a sorcery out of your hand at instant speed, which is kind of neat. And also obviously you could recast the things from your bid at instant speed as well. Yeah, the design on neat is this, and it seems like it could have potential, but like quad red is a steep cost. So again, it comes down to like, is there a deck that wants this and also supports quad red? Is a tall ask. It deals combat damage to a player. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Has Ninjutsu 4. Sure. The stat line is okay. It's a 6/5 for 5 or for 4 with Ninjutsu. There again could be a question of, do you have good things you want to bounce with this? Yeah, if you have an okay like 1, 2 or 3 mana thing, you could pick back up. Yeah, maybe the green snow deck wants to test this. Could also just not be good enough though as well. Return all artifact and enchantment cards to your graveyard to the battlefield. It's an EDH card. Return 1 target creature, planeswalker, to its owner's hand. Return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. Exile this Saga and bring it back. Whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value until your next turn. This is probably too slow. You don't get the breakthrough until turn 6. I guess it impacts the board the turn you play it. Yeah, I think this one's probably too clunky. Each opponent gets a 1/1 Black Rat Rogue. When it enters the battlefield, gain control of all rat tokens. This card is neat. This card is neat. Thanks for the 3/4 of a year slow, right? Yeah, it has haste. So it can attack on turn 4. I like it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this one I don't know. Again, it's so tough to evaluate these designs. This is what I'm interested in trying something though for sure. Because it can turn those rats that you generated into cards as well. I like it. Double strike. Equipped creature has double strike. Yeah, this is probably fine. It's like an okay rate on the front side that will just like give things double strike when necessary. Yeah. Would not be surprised to see aggressive decks pick this one up. Choose target creature mana value X or less. Search your library for a creature with the same name as that creature and put it onto the battlefield. Choose target creature mana value less than X. The mana value is less than X, so you have to like pay 2 more. This is probably bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad, I think. Unless there's like some kind of combo that you're enabling. Yeah, it has to be a creature in play to target ship. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then put 4 1/1 counters on any number of creatures or vehicles target player controls. Maybe. Yeah, the quad color cards are such a tough sell. Yeah, I don't know exactly what you're getting back. 4/1 counters is a lot of stats, but it's just so difficult to cast. The Reality Architect. When one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. Return target artifact or enchantment value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay. So the stat line is okay here. Returning lands you control to your hand is a pretty big ask, though. Yeah, neat Brawl Commander. Probably too clunky for regular constructed. This is sacrifices, so it's probably not good enough. Like, even, like, let's say you draw 2 cards off of this. Your opponent loses 4 life, sacrifices their worst creature, and you draw 2 cards. That seems a little below rate, I think, for this cost. So the top X card of your library, you may play up to 2 of those cards until the end of your next turn. To set a low bar, this is probably the best of this cycle where you pay X and can exile cards. But I don't know that it's still good enough. A lot of these ones seem bad in this cycle. Return this to its owner's hand. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put a land from among them onto the battlefield. Discard it. Return X non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. Yes, this is another neat Brawl Commander. It does not seem fast enough for constructed. This card's great, chat. This card is a new multi-format all-star. It's going to be Legacy playable. It's going to be Modern playable. It's going to be Historic playable. It's going to be Alchemy playable. Like, it just does a lot of everything. It's very, very good. I don't know what price this card is pre-ordering at in paper, but whatever number it is, it's probably low. Oh, look, I can just click on Channel Fireball and see. Near mint, $3. Really? That's gotta be... Wait, is Channel Fireball TCG player now? Castle games plus EV game. It's been so long. Change is scary. They're actually just they just want to be TCG player now. They're just a storefront. That's weird. All right, sure. The more you know. The reality chip. Look at the top card of your library at any time. As long as it is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top. This is neat. This could maybe be okay. This is definitely a gas Brawl card. This could be a potentially playable card. You know what, chat? This card could be sweet with Luris in Historic. We were talking about artifact creatures that are good at enabling, what's it called? And you could just, like, bring this back with Luris if it dies, and then re-equip it to something and generate some card advantage. Well, chat, if they kill the thing it's equipped to, you keep your equipment, chat. A removal spell doesn't kill equipment. So, like, if they kill the thing it's equipped to, you just attach it to something else, right? And, like, I like this card a lot. I think this card could be Historic playable and maybe Standard playable, too. It's a USB creature. Yeah. Enters the battlefield with the Menace counter. Deals combat damage to a player. You may remove a menace counter. When you do, they reveal their hand. You may choose a non-land card, exile that card. Neat. The artwork is kind of terrifying. The hand with the mouth on it is with the tongue coming out is some big nightmare shit. Neat design, maybe playable. Stat line's a little low, but if it connects, it like 1-for-1s, and then you have a 3/3 left over. Scrap Welder. Sacrifice an artifact with mana value X. Return target artifact card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Probably slow and bad. Other enchantment creatures you control get 1/1. Copy target activator or trigger ability you control from enchantment stores. You may choose new targets for that copy. I don't think the enchantment decks in Historic want this kind of effect, and it's probably too slow and doesn't have enough other support for Standard/Alchemy. Exile target artifact creature enchantment with mana value X or less. I guess. Flying. When it enters the battlefield from your hand, if it's attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. The token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. Okay. So, this card, yeah, the token is permanent. Yeah, I think this is good. If there's going to be a ninjutsu deck, this is probably a centerpiece of it. Because this is notably, yeah, this is a 1/1 with flying, so it's a good ninjutsu enabler. Yes, it is both a ninjutsu enabler and a ninjutsu payoff, which is what these type of decks that you're looking to build around will need to have. So if there's ninjutsu, we want to start here for sure. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named Kemi the Frog, create a 3/3. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, each opponent loses life, you gain a life. Target frog you control can't be blocked except by creature with flying and reach. Okay. This could maybe be okay. Are there good 1 or 2 mana enchantments in the format? Because, like, if you could play this on 4 and trigger it right away. This could be okay. Yeah, there's Meat Hook. There's the 2 mana Saga. The 2 mana black Saga is very good. Yeah, if there's enough incidental enchantments to enable this, this could be okay. Creatures you control gain haste. Create a flying dragon. Activate only if you control a modified creature. Yeah, this could be playable. Ranger's class, there's a lot of incidental ways to get reasonable modified creatures. And it's just like a 2/2 for 2 is okay. I could see this maybe being playable in an aggressive shell. Mill 3 cards. Make a 1/1 color spirit token. Put a 1/1 counter on something. When this attacks, exile target creature from a graveyard, get a 1/1 token. Exile a non-creature, put a 1/1 counter on something. This probably isn't very good. Like, this, and this is why, what you have to think about. This card can't attack till turn 5. It comes down on 2. It flips on 4. It doesn't attack till 5. You're not even attacking with a 1/1 on turn 4. You're attacking with a 1/1 on turn 5. It does not seem good. Enters the battlefield. Another target permanent you control gains indestructible for as long as you control this. It gets 5/5 till end of turn. Sweet Brawl card. It's a shame that all of the removal and sweepers in this format for alchemy are exile and minus basically. So like the context of this format probably means this card isn't good because it's not meaningful protection. If making something indestructible was meaningful, this card would probably be sweet. But it's not, so this card's probably not playable. Becomes crewed for the first time each turn. Becomes a copy of that creature, except it's a 4/3 with flying in addition to its other stuff. This card's neat. Crew 1 is super cheap. And if you have good text on something... Oh, you know what this is probably good with? This is probably very reasonable with the various ninjutsu cards in the format, right? Because it's evasive. You can, like, play a ninja out and crew this, and then get in with the ninja's effect, basically. Yeah, I think I like this. I think this is probably a card that's good inside of a ninjutsu shell. When it attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on it and it gains menace. It crews for 2. Maybe. Crew 2. Its stat line is pretty big. I don't know that this is better than the colorless vehicle that plays for 2 that we're going to look at later. Deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control. When you cast your next creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter. If a creature dealt damage this turn by a source you control would die, exile it instead. So this is a 1 mana Saga that attacks for 2 on turn 3. This is probably fine, right? I think this one's potentially usable. Like, does a damage on 1. It makes your 2-drop bigger, and then it hits for 2 on 3. Yeah, I feel like this probably does enough for 1 mana. And the fact that it has haste is a big deal, too. The Dragon Kami Reborn. Gain 2 life, look at the top 3 cards of your library, exile one of them with a hatchling counter on it, put the rest in the bottom. When Dragon Kami Egg or Dragon you control dies, you may cast a creature spell. Why does all the removal in this format exile, chat? Why does all the removal in this format exile? I don't get it. It's like they don't want any of these cards to be good. This one might still be good. Maybe you can block with this in combat and it'll be good. You just like throw it away. Well, I mean, you get to look at the top 3 cards twice. So you get 6 looks at a good bomb. Maybe that one's still playable. I don't know. Yeah, they're good in multiples too, right? Because if you get 2 good hatchling counter ones on your first one, your second one can get it for you too. Remember, an aura enters a battlefield under your control. If you cast it, you may search your library for an aura with mana value less than or equal to that aura's with a different name. And put that card onto the battlefield attached to Light Paws. That's neat. Maybe the Auras deck in Historic wants this. I could see that potentially. It's kind of like drawing a card. Yeah, it gives you 2 for 1 auras. And it like lets you tutor up better ones. Definitely a sweet Brawl card. Could maybe see play in Historic. In your end step, you may pay 1. If you do, nope, it is bad. All right. It makes me sad to say this, but this card is a Brawl / EDH card and nothing else. Too slow and clunky otherwise. 4/4 for 4s with activated abilities. Just not good in modern fire design. For you cast an enchantment spell, this gets a 1/1 counter. Beginning of each end step, an enchantment is put into your graveyard from the battlefield. You may return this from your graveyard to your hand. Maybe fine. I don't know that I've seen enough enchantments to make a card like this get enabled reasonably. Imperial Recovery Unit attacks. Return target creature or vehicle card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Maybe. Dockside Chef. Sacrifice your artifact or creature, draw a card. There's an Aristocrat-y style deck in Standard or Alchemy. I could see this seeing play there. Probably a little bit too slow and costly for Historic, but the fact that this card can sacrifice artifacts too is really nice. This is also an enchantment creature. That's true. That's a good shout, talking about things to enable enchantments. Maybe the fact that this is an enchantment creature means that it could be okay in Historic for enabling Delirium. It is also worth noting that this is not other, so this can sacrifice itself, is a good shout out. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this one sees play. Exile target creature an opponent controls with mana value 4 or greater. Each player gains control of all permanents they own. When this dies, you draw a card. I think this could be okay. It's another piece of exile removal. Oh, god damn. Yeah, Black-White Sack loves, Black-White Sack loves this card. Because this is like a removal spell that then you get to here, and then you sacrifice this to Rite of Oblivion to draw a card. Yeah, this card's probably very good. God, those dragons are unplayable. If Black-White Sack's a real deck, I mean, the Black-White deck's one of the best decks in Alchemy right now, so you should be happy. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 artifact cards from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I wonder if this is playable in the Historic deck. Maybe, could be. Yeah, this just could potentially be worth testing in the Alchemy. Yeah, that's the question. Is this better than Reverse Engineer is a real question. This card is sweet. 2/1 for 1, just like Savannah Lion is an okay rate. And then it accrues power 2 or greater. I'm actually interested to try some Heart of Kiran decks in Historic with this card and some of the other new vehicles. Yeah, the fact that this card cruised through 4 on an otherwise reasonably aggressive body, I think seems great. This one seems pretty mediocre. Uncommons. You may play an additional land this turn, gain 3 life, becomes blocked, untap 3 lands you control. This could be okay. I don't hate this. I guess this card competes in a slot similar to Druid class, although this is a card that ramps you to turn 4. Yeah, it's like, you have to think of this as Explore that always draws you a 3/3 on delay, right? Yeah, so this card doesn't attack until 5, but just like, it's like a ramp spell that gains you some life and draws you a thing, right? and like keeping you alive is something you want to do. I mean, sure, but you don't get to play Explore in Alchemy, right? So like, yeah, I agree that this card's worse than Explore, but like, it's also not competing with Explore in rotating formats, which is where this card's likely to see play. I wouldn't be surprised if this one's constructed playable in Alchemy or Standard. Search library for 2 basic forests and put them into your hand. Oh, this card costs 4 mana. Okay, I'm gonna close the tab now. Tamiyo Completant. You may pay 2 life rather than the 5th mana to cast this. And enters with 2 fewer loyalty if you do. Tap up to 1 target artifact or creature it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Exile target non-land permanent card with mana value X from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card. And then get a legendary colorless artifact token with spells you cast cost 2 less. Tap it to draw a card. I like this, I think. So the minus X is kind of like drawing a card. The plus locks something down, protecting itself. And the emblem probably wins you the game, right? We've screwed around with a bit of Sultai control inside of Alchemy, and I think oh no. Oh no. Oh, it's not an emblem. Oh no. Why isn't it an emblem? And you know what really sucks about this Ultimate too? If Magic wasn't a boomer card game, chat, if Magic wasn't a boomer card game, this could conjure an emblem. This could conjure an artifact so it can't just get bounced. Yeah, couldn't it be hexproof or something, right? Like, this is so sad because I like this design a lot. But the fact that this is just an artifact that they can destroy is just... I mean, I guess it at least draws a card when it dies, but... Gross. Gross. Rite of Oblivion, chat. Beginning of your end step, choose target permanent card in your graveyard. You may sacrifice a permanent that shares a type with your card. If you do, return the chosen card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains this permanent, leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. This is probably not very good in Constructed. I guess this lets you turn Meat Hook Massacre into a different enchantment, but I don't really know if there's other enchantments you're really abusing by getting back. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value 1 or less. Exile all graveyards. Deals damage. Put a 1/1 counter on it. When it deals damage to a player, if it has done 10 or more damage to that player this turn, they lose the game. Okay. This card's probably pretty good in Historic, huh? Seems good versus Cat Oven. Doesn't destroy Trail of Crumbs, but it cleans up ovens and then it cleans up the graveyards. I like it. Something to note about this card in Standard, chat, is there's the Double Strike card that you equip to give something Double Strike. So that could be a good way to trigger Vessel's alt text. So this card's just a good card pretending this paragraph doesn't exist. But if you can play other good cards that incidentally enable this paragraph, that sounds fine. I love the design of this card. It's so sweet. This is one of the first cards they spoiled, and it's fantastic. Really cool Planeswalker design. So 3 loyalty. The beginning of your end step, if it entered the battlefield this turn, it phases out. So it's you're like guaranteed to untap with it. You draw a card, and then you discard a card unless you attacked. So it's card advantage for creature decks. And then it can make an unblockable token that can enable ninjutsu or just easily enable its +1. You get an emblem whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a player. Search your library for a blue or black creature card and put it onto the battlefield. Yeah. This card's great, and we're going to be building a few different things around this deck, trying to figure out if it can be playable, because I like this design a lot. Exile target non-land. Look, I get that this one is 5 colors, but just like for the we like hit this arms race where like creatures weren't playable if they didn't have dies or enter the battlefield effects, and like now removal has all scaled up to make dies triggers irrelevant. This is kind of like Conqueror's Death, if you can incidentally make 5 mana. Making 5 colors of mana is not trivial, though. The Silent Spider enters the battlefield. Exile target card in opponent's graveyard other than a basic land. Search that player's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name and exile them. Then that player shuffles. For as long as you control this, you may play one of the exiled cards. You may spend mana or any color to cast it. Interesting. So, notably, this doesn't let them draw a card for the thing you're getting rid of, right? A lot of the times, Unmoored Ego style effect. I wonder if they just didn't have enough. They just didn't have enough room in the text box to say they draw cards. Yeah, you also get to cast the things you exile too, is neat. Well, I mean, so this has to get rid of something from their bin, chat. So theoretically, you're only getting rid of something that they already got to play once, which is interesting. But it does kind of draw a card when it comes into play. This is a sweet card to ninjutsu back to your hand if you can manage it. To get to replay it. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control, it triggers that ability an additional time. It doubles Winota, chat. When they nerf and unban Winota in Historic, we can play this in a Mardu Winota deck. In. 4/3 for 3. The beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This could be okay, I guess. The stat line on this is pretty good for 3 mana. Yeah, I know chat wants to go really big and bring back Perihelion, but like, you're probably better off just playing this with good vehicles as incidental advantage, right? I would assume is the case. Flying Trample. Spells you control cost 1 less to cast for each target. Spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast for each target. This is kind of neat. So, neat commander card for sure, but also might be constructed playable just because it's a 4/4 flying trampler that their removal spells cost 1 more, right? So, like, it's close to tempo even. This makes Magma Opus cost 2 mana. Well, alrighty then. Well, that's the day 1 deck, chat. Figured it out. The day 1 deck is 2 mana Magma Opus. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, this card. We're gonna play this card a lot. Put a lore counter on each Saga you control. When it dies, return a Saga or enchantment you control to its owner's hand. Return target Saga from your graveyard to your hand. This could be okay. There's a lot of really good 3-mana Sagas, and the fact that this generates a card advantage when it dies is nice if it dies. In Historic, you might want to try this with History of Benalia. But even in Standard, with the other 3-mana Sagas, this could be very reasonable, I think. Yeah, if there's a Saga deck, this is a part of it. Whenever a Samurai or Warrior you control attacks alone, untap it, you get another combat step. Sure. Probably not good enough. Stat line's kind of mediocre. I don't know that there's enough Samurais or Warriors to enable this necessarily. It kind of self-enables, but stat line's only okay. Whenever a Sorry commander deals combat damage to a player, if it doesn't have an indestructible counter on it, put an indestructible counter on it. When combat damage is dealt to you, remove the indestructible counter. It's a shame indestructible doesn't matter, otherwise this could be a cool aggressive card. Whenever you activate Ninjutsu, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, put the rest of them on the bottom in any order. This ability only triggers once per turn. Creatures in your hand have Ninjutsu. This is definitely an EDH card. I don't know if this is constructed playable otherwise, but definitely EDH. Create X 2/2 Samurai tokens with Menace and Haste and Vigilance. Each opponent creates X -1 2/2 Samurai. Wait, what? So you get X, they get X -1? Weird. I guess if you have some way to break the symmetry, this is really good, but I don't know that there's anything. Does anything jump out at you offhand, chat, that breaks the symmetry? Yours have Menace for 1 turn, chat. For 1 turn. So if it's lethal, that's fine. Yeah, it could be a big burn spell. Yeah, Blood Artist, sure. Yeah, Blood Artist or Meat Hook. Wedding Announcement is a good way to break the symmetry. Okay? Yeah, I think you want some way to break the 2/2 symmetry. Because they only have Menace for a turn. I think this card is good. I think this card is good. So 2 channels, it's a triple modal spell, right? Like, obviously, the rate on casting it as a creature isn't good, but it's like uncounterable, unsummon, channel's an instant, right? I can channel at instant speed. Both channels seem bad. Nah, I mean, I think they're pretty okay. I wouldn't be surprised if this sees alchemy play. Yeah, I think this card is sweet. I would not be surprised if this sees alchemy play. Channel means you pay this cost and discard it from your hand to get this effect. So you could do this as a spell. You could do this as a spell. Yeah, they're basically uncounterable. Invigorating Hot Spring gets 4 1/1 counters. Modified creatures you control have haste. Remove a counter from this, put 1 counter on target creature you control. Activate this as a sorcery once per turn. It is fires for the boomers. I think this is bad. I think 3 mana. This card reads like it wants to be in an aggressive deck, but spending 3 mana to not impact the board in your aggressive deck on turn 3 is not great. Ninjutsu abilities cost you 1 less to activate. Other ninja and rogues you control get 1/1. We have Master Splinter, chat. Maybe fine. Maybe. I'm not convinced Ninjutsu has enough constructed support. When a equipped creature dies, exile it. Equipped creature gets 2/0. As long as a card exiled with this has flying, equipped creature has flying. Yeah, this doesn't seem very good. This card, chat. This card is super, super playable. And I'm not sure if this card feels like it could be Smuggler's Copter cracked, but it could also just be like Heart of Korean, plenty playable, but not busted. Like, close to Maze Mind Tome that then starts attacking people feels like it's gotta be decent. Yeah, it's like Maze Mind Tome and Heart of Korean had like a weird baby. But I think this one is probably historic playable too. Mecha Titan Core. 2/4 for 2. Cruise for 2. Pay 5. Exile, Mecha Titan Core, and 4 other artifact creatures get a thing. When that token leaves the battlefield. Oh. So they can't just exile it because you get all your other stuff back. We actually have a build-around donation for this already. This is gasoline. This is sweet. This one might actually be constructed playable. Yeah, it's got like lifelink and haste. And the fact that all the bits... No, it says when that token leaves the battlefield. So if they unsummon it, all your shit comes back and you could do it again for 5 mana. Yeah, this seems like it could be legitimately good. Oh, wait. Oh, I don't get the core back? Fine. It might still be playable. Probably a meme. Probably a meme. 2 mana Magma Opus Rip Midrange. It did, Beck. Thank you for the tip. Sorry, I didn't have my alerts up because we're doing stuff. I appreciate the support. I'm excited to 2 mana Magma Opus on release day. Near box. The legend rule doesn't apply. Legendary cards get 1/1. Non-token creature control get 1/1 for each. This card's probably bad. Probably a sweet build around somewhere. Not very good. Surge Hacker Mech enters the battlefield. It deals damage equal to you equal to twice the number of vehicles. Enters the battlefield, deals damage equal to twice the number of vehicles you control. Target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Has menace. It cruise for 5. So I guess it does 2 at a minimum, right? Yeah, it counts itself, and it does crew for 4, so the 1-drop can crew it. Maybe fine. This is a card that is good to exile with Mech Titan Core. That's a good shout. I like that shout. So could maybe be good there. Holy shit, this card is good. Wow. This is my land removal spell? Excuse me? This is really good. This is my comment, and I'm going to have to repeat this comment a lot looking at deck list chat. These, if you're putting 24 lands or 25 lands in your deck, counting these in those lands, that's not enough lands because this is a legendary land, chat. Legendary land is a real drawback. You need to count most of these as spells. If you want to play like 4 of these, you probably need 28, 29 lands in your deck. But yeah, this is very, very good. This is probably non-rotating format playable. Return target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Meh. The white one's good. This is maybe fine. This is probably you play one of them in your blue decks because the first one is free. You don't play 4 of them. Yeah, it's on an untapped land. Play the first one, don't play more. You're going to want to play like 4 of the white ones. Hey, Jub. Thanks for the entire year. Welcome back. Yeah, first one's free. Mill 3 cards, or a creature or planeswalker from your graveyard to your hand. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know if this is play 4, but play 2 or 3 for sure. God, that artwork is gorgeous on the alt art. That's beautiful. Yes, this one's pretty good. Create 2 1/1 spirit tokens with haste. Wow, yeah. Could red aggro could maybe be a thing. You get to play 4 of these and 4 Den of the Bugbear and just have really good utility lands. Feels like a lot of potential there. Destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player gets to search the library for a basic land, a land with a basic land type, and put it onto the battlefield. Yeah, that's really good. That's probably a 4 of in most things in a multi-format all-star. Artifact, creature, enchantment, non-basic. Yep. Yeah, basic land type, they can get dual lands. So they can get shocks or triumphs, but still very good. Roadside Reliquary. Draw a card if you control an artifact. Draw a card if you control an enchantment. Sacrifice this. Neat. Chat, if I said creatures in there, I just read the card. Don't listen to what I said, read the card. Target vehicle becomes artifact. Choose a creature type, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana to cast a creature spell of the chosen type or activated ability. Sure, this is like better unclaimed territory, seems good. All right, chat. This is your chance. Are there any commons or uncommons I didn't talk about that you would like to see? Link them in chat. We will consider talking about them. We covered basically all the rares and mythics. If you missed those, the review will be up on YouTube and its own thing later. I'm not going back over rares or mythics. We talked about all of those already. This card is sweet. It has haste itself, and then it gives the equipped creature 1/1 in haste as well. Yeah, hopefully red aggro is playable in this format, and this card will likely be very good if it is. Whoa. Yeah, this card is sweet. This is, remember, channels an activated ability. So they can't counter your ability unless they have, like, this. Okay, so this can counter channels. So you'll need crabs of your own to fight other crabs, potentially. And then it's also a threat in the late game. Once the counter, unless they pay 3, is no longer good. Yeah, this card's probably playable. I like it. Destroy up to 1 target artifact, creature, enchantment, or tapped creature. And if you control an artifact and an enchantment, create 2/2 sorcery speed. This is probably not good. I guess it's kind of flexible. Maybe a sideboard card. Maybe. I wouldn't expect this to see main deck play. Nah, this is bad. The odds of this costing 2 are low, and Hero's Downfall doesn't really see play. It's likely just Hero's Downfall, and in some cases it's worse. Moon Snare Prototype. Tap an untapped artifact or creature you control, get a mana. Discard it. The owner of target non-land permanent puts on the top or bottom of their library. Yeah, this seems good. It's like a Springleaf Drum early, basically. Oh my god, this works with Mishra's Bubble. Would not be surprised if this sees modern play. Would not be surprised if this sees historic play. That's funny. Ooh, it's potentially good with Magda in Standard and Alchemy too. Yeah, that'll be sweet. This with Magda, it's like a Jaspera Sentinel. So you can play blue-red Magda now. I like it. It's a good shout. Disruption Protocol is neat. I can see this seeing play. I like it. Discard a card, you may exile that card for your graveyard. If you do, you may play that card this turn. Cute. Maybe an okay build around. When it enters or leaves the battlefield, exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card. Sacrifice this, make a 2/2, activate this only as a sorcery. This is neat. I don't know if this is good, but it's a neat design. Huh. This could be an okay red aggro card. So it like dashes and then eventually you discard it to draw a card. This could be another card that maybe could get a shout in Historic for Delirium enabling because it's an artifact creature. And the channel is fine. Okay. 4 mana draw 2 or 1 mana draw 1. Wow, this card's really good with Luris, huh? Yeah. Yeah, this card's sweet. I like this one a lot. So 2 mana to play, 2 mana to sacrifice, draw 2, pay a blue, discard, draw card. Good Delirium enabler too, for sure. Gaffer, thanks for 19 months. Draw and then discard twice, get a 2/3. Probably not good enough. Maybe if there's some kind of graveyard shenanigans, this could be like mediocre Faithless Looting, but probably not. Tripperant gets hexproof and indestructible. You gain 2 life. Huh. So this can save your Sagas and Planeswalkers removal spells too. Kind of like a more flexible Ranger's Guile. Could see that one being okay as a sideboard card. Thanks for the 44 months, Tantrums. Welcome back. This is okay. Drains your opponent twice as an aggressively slanted thing, and then becomes a 2/2 with Menace that makes your vehicles harder to block. Yeah, I can see this one being playable. Parfait, thanks for the quarter of year. Appreciate the prime. Welcome back. Yeah, art is sweet too. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, put a 1/1 counter on this. Wow, and this isn't limited to once per turn. This seems really good in the artifact deck in Historic. Yeah, this could go very crazy in the historic deck. We looked at this. I don't think this is very good. All right, I think that covers everything. Last call for commons and uncommons we didn't look at. We looked at most of the rares. If you missed any rares or whatever, the full review will be up on YouTube tonight. We got Enchantment, Elvish Visionary. Could be okay. Destroy target artifact with mana value 3 or less, you gain 3 life. Probably not good enough. Sorcery speed and doesn't do enchantments as well. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a 1/1 counter on a creature. Nah, this isn't very good. Okay, I think we've hit the point where we're out of playables. This is okay. Instant speed, uncounterable ramp that's a threat later. I can see this being playable. Yeah, we talked about this one. This one's good. Neat. Draw a card is huge here. Yeah, I can see this one being playable. Seems reasonable. Stat line is kind of mediocre on this. Attacking alone is whatever. Land enters the battlefield under your control. Put a 1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Put X on 1 counters on target land you control. It's still haste. Nah. All right.